looking at ESPN, NFL, is beautiful. Better and better each day I've worked with it. Now they've brought in everything that I was wanting, and a lot of other A7 IV shooters have wanted, and that is a camera that is the next level. Let's talk about that. The Sony A7V. This camera here, absolute beast. I did not see this coming, and I kind of thought they were going to bring us something like this. The A7 IV was awesome, but the A7V is even better. Yeah, it's kind of their Sony page. One, I haven't had my hands on the camera. When I have my hands on the camera and rent it, I will go over everything you can do in real world. We're just going to go through the laundry list of stuff real quick, and then we're going to get into some of the cool features, and I'm going to explain what I think, how they're going to evolve and go from this being spectacular to this being the new, this is it for hybrids. Um, the laundry list is this: there's a new sensor, there's a new processor, um, there's new learning features on it, a new raw photo that you have on there, more autofocus detection points with a brand new autofocus setup, which is beautiful. 4K 60 and 4K 120. Now the 120 is in Super 35. So for all those in LinkedIn who have their media teams, just be aware that it changes the focal length, and that'll help with your media teams, especially because a lot of y'all are developing your media teams internally now, and also working with like a producer or someone like me to make things kind of go with you. Um, First off, straight up, 33 megapixels, 30 frames per second. It's a 120. It's unbelievable. It's great. They got the new processor in it. This thing is gonna change the way we use video and photo just from that processor. This is a new sensor. There's a couple things about the sensor that are really cool. One, it's got a faster readout. And all that really means is less weird artifacts, less jelloiness, and less like things being leaned sideways when you are going to turn to your left or turn to your right when you're doing a video shoot. This new processor is just better for focus and for AI based time recognition stuff. The images have changed. So, like the JPEGs look better because they actually have a new engine for that, or a new renderings inside of it, which is awesome. For example, if you look at this, you'll see the A7 IV and then you'll see the A7V. Just by changing a few things in the white balance and some of the auto learning stuff, it changes the way the color tones come out. You're also looking at a brand new RAW that can shoot at 30 frames per second at a 14-bit RAW. This is really good for sports photographers who want to have both the JPEG that's ready to go and want to have the ability to really, really get into high-speed shooting with RAW. Now you do need one of those Type A cards. I've got one for this one here. It's just under a half a terabyte. Yeah, that'll get me through about a day with all the raw shooting, and that is pretty cool. Or about, depends on how you're doing it. 14-bit, it's going to change those a little bit. Um, Also, within this raw, they've got a new and enhanced processing, a new noise reduction piece. Now, some of the people who shoot raw are going to go, "What's with the noise reduction piece? We don't use noise reduction." For those who in post production are working with a marketing team or working with a sales team that's putting together products and putting together something that's going to be spectacular for their imagery to go along with their video, the ability to have some of the noise reduction done pre shot versus in post production does help. Because a lot of times we're focusing on getting the colors right, getting the shades, changing colors around. So, for example, on this picture here, I may want this green a little bit more green. I may want this green right here to be a little less of a hue of green. So, what I can do in post production is I can change these greens around. I can go in with Capture One or any other source and change those things around and make them the way I want. But then I got to start applying a noise reduction afterwards, depending on how high the ISO was. And the fact that Sony has already putting an extended noise reduction onto their RAW, I like this. It saves me a few steps. It saves our teams a few steps when it comes to doing your post-production work. And the more efficient we are for you, frankly put, the better. And sometimes it saves us in the billing on one portion, allows you to get more work on the other side. So that is one of the reasons why I'm really, really loving what they've done with the Sony here. Now let's get to the next piece right here. We're going to start talking about the different types of RAWs that are going to be available. So you're going to have your lossless RAWs, and there's a whole different laundry list of that there. They have the new compressed HQ, and then they have the compressed. When you start looking through your RAW functions, you'll be able to choose those and make those different ways you want to. We're also going to talk about optical stabilization. You know, when they added active to this, it really made handheld video really easy to do, and also made photography really easy to do at 100 millimeters to 200 millimeters. Going up to 6.5 and up to 7.5, it's, I'm going to be frank with you, it's going to be a game changer for me, and not like the word game changer for no reason. It's going to be game changer because I will be able to send more people out or myself out without a gimbal and catch some of the shots that I would normally have to gimbal up, which means I can do more hybrid work. So for example, if I'm walking with somebody and I want to catch a slow motion video of them real quick, I'll be able to do that. I'll just be able to do the little motions, be in a 2-point conversion or a 3-point configuration, and catch that beautiful slow motion shot or the shot I need to catch with them for a quick soundbite for 10 or 15 seconds. And it'll be really stable and look really good. I'm going to love having that capability, and so will you. So will your teams. And so that's going to be one of the more powerful tools that you're going to have down the road with this stabilization. Now, no, I'm not sponsored by Sony. I just happen to love the product. So if anyone has questions on that, I'm not sponsored by them. Another thing that's going to be is a new tracking and recognition. I've actually had a ton of success with tracking on this, and then it sometimes doesn't work. That's the one thing that's been confusing about the A7 IV. It's either absolutely perfect, which is about 80% of the time to 90% of the time, or it's fallen short when it comes to tracking. And with the new AI chip, and I gotta admit, this is a 4-year-old body going on 5-year-old body that I have here. With the new AI chip, I think it's just gonna be knocking it out the park. That's gonna be spectacular. If you look at this, you're gonna do what's called real-time estimation on poses. Essentially what that means is with the AI tracking and pre-algorithm, it's going to have a good idea of what a human body should do in the next move. And if you're someone who does sports photography, model photography, runway, anything where a person is moving and you're taking photos, this enhances and optimizes your ability to basically capture that photo. Real-time wider recognition and stuff. Let's be frank, with all of these new cameras, they're all going to start recognizing trains, planes, automobiles, animals, all the rest. That's cool. What's another really cool thing is the real-time tracking here. This is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be game-changing. It's just going to be, once again, another enhancer. If you've had an A7 IV or a Sony A7 R5, you've gotten used to the tracking capabilities when you're doing photo and video. And a hybrid world. If you've got the FX2, then you know what I'm talking about too, because it's basically this camera, but turned into a more hybrid oriented video side versus this is 40% video and 60% photo. This new A7 V is 51% photo and 49% video. This kind of changes the game a little bit, and it's one of the lamest things to say, game changer. Autofocus points, I just like the fact that they've made it broader. I mean, as simple as that. They've made it broader. I did download the new firmware for the A7 IV with this new extra small and extra large focal point piece. Magnifique. I love the fact I can draw into a point and it's smaller and more targeted, or it's wider and it's better than the zone one. So I like that piece there. Low light, autofocus and low light's been great with Sony. So whatever they've done there, it's just probably going to be an improvement. Uh, for those who've used an A9, me and a bunch of other people who've used an A9, this part's cool. 30 frames per second, no blackout, and you're getting the raw photos with it. With the high computation, where they actually did a video, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago with the A9. They did a video just off of photos and then added music in, and it looked great at 24 frames per second as a video. So, I mean, straight up, you're going to be able to get some of the best like photos you've ever had in sequence. The pre-capture piece, I kind of like that. I've rarely ever used pre-capture, but pre-capture is going to be one of the things that's going to be uh, revolutionizing the way sports photography goes, especially for those who are at baseball games, soccer. FIFA's coming up here in Seattle for the World Cup and World Cup across the United States. That's going to be an awesome for the photographers who have the pre-capture, which is just great. And then the ability to boost your shots. So if you're in the middle of a 10 frame per second shot and then you just hit a boost button and you go to 30 frames per second just to catch that perfect shot, that's great too. The gimbal reliability thing, I've never had any issues with details and reliability with this camera. I mean, if you've ever had one of these Sonys in hand and used them for any period of time, it works. It's as simple as that. It works. This part I like a lot. I'm used to 6K to 4K aspect ratio coming down for getting, full pixel readout. This is just going to be phenomenal. Now, I don't know what's going on with their website. So they specifically chose saying it's a woman. So maybe they just made an error there because I don't know. To me, we have tons of women photographers and videographers that I work with, and they do a beautiful job. So if there was an emphasization here, that's awesome. They do have the new audio noise reduction piece. I think it's going to be one of the most amazing little add-ons to the camera. High frame. This is going to be where, how do I put this? High frame rate. For those who have shot at 120p, you know the strengths and weaknesses of 120p. The strength is you can really slow down a subject matter. The disadvantage of it is, sometimes on timeline, it is what it is. And if you're doing a 24 timeline, it can get kind of goofy real quick. 5 times slowdown on that timeline can be crazy. And if you're doing 1080p, which I do a lot of 1080p delivery lately, clients just happen to be asking for 1080p because we're just doing social media stuff. 240 frames per second on sports side is just going to be absolutely insane. And if it's anywhere near the quality I think it's going to be, beautiful. Of course, you're going to have stable shooting. You've got the new dynamic mode, which until I've seen this mode, I'm not going to give it any extra respect. I do know that the active mode in this has been phenomenal. So if we go over to the Super 35 mode or mode 35, that's going to be fun. The rest of this is just body. These are cool. If you know about the body, there's been heat issues. So if they really did pull this off and it's got a nice active heat distribution, we're going to be able to shoot some pretty cool stuff. I do use a fan for the A7 IV. So if you have one of these and you're worried about overheating and you have an A7 IV, you can just put a fan back here and it'll stay cool. I've done that many, many times. I've yet to be able to figure out which fan to work with this new back that they have on the Sonys. But once I do, I'll have one for it anyway. It's just a backup. If you're going to be shooting for 2 or 3 hours on the live stream and recording and all you just want to have that. Let's see. Are they going to talk about the app here at all? Look, I didn't go through this at all. So they have the Wi-Fi. This actually has Wi-Fi 6 gigahertz, which is really awesome. Now let's talk about this here, the live streaming part. Let me zoom in here real quick. Now, for all y'all who have been complaining that Sony has done nothing this year, for everybody who complains Sony has done nothing this year, this right here, SRT protocol. If you ever get a phone call or whatever, and an email or a text, and they're like, "Can you do something for ESPN, AWS, Fox, or something else?" They want something that can either do RTMPS, or they will send you a box to send SRT unless you have SRT already built into your stuff. I have SRT built into my camera. This is an A7 IV, so this is an old camera. It has SRT built into it. It's a different type of protocol. It allows you to use the more advanced and more reliable streaming capabilities, and it's built into this unit, which is nice. And you can also transmit an SRT, the brand new 265 format. Now, will you be doing that every day? Probably not. But there's a chance if you have Sony, you have more job opportunities in areas where people are looking to broadcast. And of course, one of the things I'm really loving is you got the 4K 60 via USB. Now, I do a lot of streaming through USB, and having the ability to stream with this camera and record in all eye is awesome, because I can shoot and record in all eye, deliver to a client, and call it good, and still been streaming, on that set. And that's really, really nice. So I get a high format while still sending out a USB signal, which is beautiful. So I don't actually have to run through the normal stuff. There is a wireless LAN system for this and a wired LAN system that you're going to be able to get with this. And that's also going to allow you to do some 4K broadcasting simultaneously. So it's pretty cool, the stuff that's come down the pipeline. And this is what's setting Sony apart. Canon's not quite there. Nikon's not quite there. It's phenomenal what's happening. Now, these are a couple other things that are going to be kind of important. There is the Creators app. Now, Creators app, they basically talk about cloud storage and file transfers in some remote shooting. What they don't tell you is this is where you put in your SRT information. This is where you put your RTMPS information or your RTMP information, or you connect with YouTube. That's how you set up everything there. The Edit desktop app, let's be real. Remote shooting and the rest of that is super cool to be able to do with that app there. And then the monitor control app. Oh, this is where Sony pretty much took the industry and said, "Hi, how you doing? We're just going to knock it over." So let's just say there's a battleship table. What Sony said was, "I'm going to take your battleships and we'll pick the board up and we'll flip it upside down and change the whole world." And the reason why they did that is because with the monitor control app, say, for example, you're on set and you're doing a four camera interview, or you have a panel up there and you're recording the panel. So you've got a wide and you got 3 tight shots, and there's you, and then there's your audio guy who's also worked as a lighting person that day. That's all you need, because you can monitor the cameras from your iPad or your Mac, and you can turn on recording, turn off recording, up to 4 cameras for free. And then if you are doing more cameras, so let's just say we have 7 panelists up there, and you have a wide that does the whole entire panel. You have a wide that just works on the central. You've got a tight who's on your moderator, and then you've got single tight angle shots on everyone on that panel. It's a lot of cameras. So you're looking at 10 cameras. From a Mac, you can control all 10 cameras. Let's say you're recording this in S-Log3 and you want to make sure your exposure is right. You want to make sure your LUT looks right. You can have the LUT on there. You can have all of those features on there. And it comes from the app and it controls all the cameras. You can already do that with this camera with that. But that is where they've made the enhancements and the changes. And having the new A7V with its hybrid capabilities. Once we're done with the event, let's just say we just grab one of the cameras and turn it into a photography camera, or since there's a couple of us there, we just jump in and start taking photos directly from this camera being up on its stand. We're just ready to go. And the whole time we've had a USB power supply going into the back of this, which is a PD plug-in. So the battery in here has never been used while we're doing all of that recording. We just get up and go and start shooting. We got another hour of photos. We never had to worry about the battery. So this is where the monitor control app and having some of the new features of the PD power supply and the 2 USBs, you can't beat it any way, shape, and form. And that's what Sony's been doing. Now, a couple other things I'd like to get into is there's going to be the authenticity feature. So for most of us who have been doing photography for the last few years, it's been an AI revolution. What I mean by that is AI has taken over a lot of things. Let me get out of this scene and I'm going to get back in and talk about this face to face. AI has dominated photography and videography when it comes to what is real and what is not real, which is cool. I love the new technology and I've embraced it. It's allowed me to do a lot of great things. Now, what Sony did, and you're going to find this to be very important if you're a photographer, videographer, if you have a photographer team, or if you're hiring a photographer, you want to be able to authenticate this is not AI. This is real. This is the history of the photo. And this is where this license comes in, where you can actually buy the license and verify the authenticity of the unique metadata from the Sony camera. And that prevents any of those people thinking it's one thing or another or fake. Zero environment, got that. The menu's changed, which is really cool. Now let's get through all of this, the deep dive into the specs. All right, let's be real. We're just really going to have really nice video all the way around. You know, you're looking at anywhere between 100 megabits to 50 megabits per second to 200 megabits per second is what you're looking at, and anything that's not all eye. And that can be from the high efficiency .265, which are mostly going to be recorded in the 10-bit 420 is what I'm going to see a lot of people do because they're just not going to look through the menu and go to the 422. Standard, which has the options of 8-bit or 10-bit. 8-bit is instant delivery, by the way. So if you just want something you can just throw up and people can just instantly deliver and not have any issues, 8-bit, but you just got to shoot it properly because you're going to have less flexibility on the color, and it's generally 420, not 422. If you are someone who's going to do post-production, as long as you got 422 10-bit, you're good. It can be in HD or SD, and you're good, or H or .265 high efficiency. Just avoid the 420 or the 420 8-bit or 10-bit because you do lose out on the ability to do a lot of your editing capabilities for color in the back end. So just get your colors right up front. One of the things I do love about this camera is it gives us true flavors of the 600 megabit all intra video. If you've never done all intra or if you're not used to working with that file, it's okay. But if you are used to working with it and you want a robust version of it, it's giving you a solidly robust version, the same one you would find in the FX3, the FX6, that level of robustness. And the advantage to this one too is it can also be transcoded to main concept, and they give you software to do that free. So MKV files, if you need to turn those in for a client. One of the things I really have enjoyed with Sony is they've given you the ability to record audio in both 16-bit and 24-bit, 2-channel and 4-channel. It's really important, and that's where things are just really, really different. I mean, I do like a lot of the other manufacturers' cameras, but a lot of them are just now getting 24-bit audio. A lot of them now are just getting 4-channel audio, which Sony's had for a while. And very few of them have a factory direct interface that gives you the 4-channel capabilities. Sony gives you that. They are with A7 on it. The body is the A7R5's body versus the A4's body. So I think people are going to love that. The new switch over to the Sony A options are now available on the Sony that you're used to from the Canon. So you can actually touch and change ISO. You can touch and change shutter speed. All of those features are that you're used to from Canon are now on Sony. So they copied that, which I think is cool. I mean, there are some features on Canon they were really good in their touchscreen menu. If you are looking to really maximize the most out of a camera that's going into your team or into your new integration, this is going to be it. You're going to have flash capabilities of high-speed sync, which is super huge. Let's see, what's that sync level at? Let me get over here and check that real quick. High-speed sync. I didn't check the high-speed sync. Please forgive me, but that was not something I had checked right away. I should have. That's on me, so please forgive me. Let's see. Where's my high-speed sync? Come on. Baby, come on. Still in movie mode. Where is my high-speed sync? Okay, so high-speed sync on this one is 1/250th and 1/320th. That's really cool. Get some nice high-speed sync in there. Let's see if it pops up here. Let's see if I can see it on this here. Yep, I can. So, but it's going to be in two different flavors. So full frame is going to be 1/250th, and APS-C is going to be 320th high-speed sync. This is going to be really cool. So you're going to be able to do not only high-speed sync, but you're going to be able to do sync that's flash sync with this at a good level. That will make a huge difference. Also, 1/8,000ths, and if you're in electronic shutter, being able to go up to 1/16,000ths is really a nice feature on this. Most of you who are watching this are going to go, why am I going through all of this side of it? It's kind of important because if you don't know, it makes a difference. Now, here's a new thing too, and they finally put the numbers on this. They didn't before, but they have now. You will be able to use power delivery, but it requires an 18-watt minimum for this camera. Most of my plugs that I have are 65 watt. So, for example, this is one I carry with me all the time. This is 100 and something watts. I think it's 130s. Yeah, so I can do 65 watts per USB-C, or roughly about 25 watts per USB-C when it's plugged in with two devices. And having that PD capability, you can run two of these cameras off of just one of these plugs and a long USB-C cable, which is awesome. Beyond that, I mean, the rest of the other features are pretty much on par with Canon and the rest. I mean, there's just a couple things that they out-edge them on. There's one thing to be quite well aware of when you're using the HDMI output and you're recording to an Atomos recorder or an external recorder. If you do not set the camera to output, so if this camera is not set to output at 10-bit, it will automatically revert to an 8-bit video. So just know that. I found that out the hard way, so you don't have to find that out. And then, of course, it's got all the PC apps things. Here's a cool thing, though. You see this PC interface right here? I see there's one of you on here, so you need to catch a really cool piece of knowledge. If you have this PC interface in and you've got the USB-C cable in, you do not have to take the memory card out of your camera. It will transfer over, at least with the A7 IV, which has the slower transfer rate, at over 400 to 500 megabytes per second transfer rate. I transfer tons of data over to any computer without a card reader. What this also does is it prevents the card from being damaged. This is why Sony's doing this. It prevents the card from being damaged. The other thing that's really cool, I'm going to show you something here. If you are a non-Sony user, this will be kind of surprising, but I've got both the memory card and the power open, and I have all access to all menus. I don't know if you can see that in there, but I have access to every, it's just glossy as all out. I have access to all my menus, period. This is something, if you've never worked with a camera that can do this, these are features that as a Sony user, I've just gotten used to. I do work with Canon, I do work with other manufacturers, and they are great cameras, but not being able to move memory cards or opening up a power door and the whole camera shut down. Oh, talk about causing an issue. So I was at a shoot recently. I think it was like three shoots back. Got a Canon there. We're getting all the prep work done. And I just went in to change one thing. I opened up the memory card slot. Everything froze up. I'm like, what? Oh, that sucks. And so I thought I did something wrong, and it just turns out you can't function the camera without open. The other thing I did is I accidentally opened the power slot. I don't know why I did, but I did by accident. And the whole Canon camera shut off. And I was like, what is going on here? And I'm finding out, like, apparently that if you open up that portion of the camera, it shuts off. Sony's don't. So that's why I was talking about that. Here's your mechanical shutter stuff. Here's your, how many photos you can take approximately before a buffer is filled, and varies by card. If you're in JPEG, you'll never fill up that card. I don't know how. If you're a JPEG shooter and you're doing like events or sports, get yourself a Type A card in here and you'll never fill that thing up. It's just life. You will never, ever, ever fill that card up. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss on this camera. I love the Sony. I was contemplating going to another camera. There's the ZR, which has got the Red Raw. But then as I've been talking to a lot of my friends who are shooting these cameras and have never really worked a RAW format, the moment they find out that a terabyte of data is like an hour of video, they start freaking out, and they're using .265 and everything else. And if you're a business and you're trying to take advantage of that, Sony gives us a great compromise. They give us the 600 megabits per second S-Log3 all intra. It's not a RAW, but it works really well. And if you happen to have an FX series camera, and I do not know if this works with the A7V, I will find out when I rent it. If you transcode it to MKV, you will find yourself having full RAW capabilities out of the footage you get with the camera. I will find that out once I've rented an A7V. Now, if anyone's got questions for me right now, this is like the question and answer section. So feel free to ask questions. Make sure you can see comments. I'll say hi real quick. Hi. And then I will jump over into, let's see. I'll jump over here and see if I can see the live, just in case the questions aren't coming through one way. I'm gonna leave this open for the next couple of minutes. Really, if you have any questions on how the A7V is going to be working, any cool features on it, or anything like that, please feel free to ask me. I'd love the question you have. Um, I can see the questions there. I'm using an A7 IV. They haven't released the A7 V to us regular folks. I'd love to have something different. But I'm using the A7 IV. There's been a huge update to it though. They've actually given the menu for the A7V on this. So you've got all the new features of the A7V. So if you let me type that in there. There is a new firmware for A7 4 to keep them the same, to keep continuity. Are you talking for the A7 IV? The A7 IV, it does work well. Yes, it does work well if you're shooting. So yes, it does if you're working shooting a medium speed person. So if they're just walking or anything like that, absolutely. Now, if you're panning and whipping the camera, so if you take the camera and you're panning it like this and then taking the shot as you're panning it, you will have some leaned lines. But if you are lining up your shot and getting your shot in an electronic shutter, it's absolutely perfect. I've used it so many times for that because it looks great. There's no shutter sound, and frankly put, unless they're jumping and running, it looks just as good as having the mechanical shutter. The only time I use a mechanical shutter in general is when I'm doing flash photography, which I'll be doing this weekend. Um, that's it. I don't see a point of using the mechanical shutter for anything else, or if I'm doing sports photography. Then you have to use a mechanical shutter because you're going to get into the one anything over 1/250th speed. It does give you the wobble. Have I tried other modern mirrorless brands, and how do I think the ergonomics compare? Nikon is beautiful. Let me type this in here. So Nikon is beautiful to hold. Hasselblad is a brick, by the way. Hasselblad is an absolute brick. And then Canon's okay. Canon's a mixed bag. Fuji is fantastic. I've shot with all these different brands. I think each one of them has their great points. Sony's ergonomics, when I went to this body, way better, way better. A7R Mark V is even better because the handheld works better for someone with my size hands. Here's a Sony camera, and here's my hand on it, and I have relatively good size hands, so yeah, I do need something that can handle a bigger hand. But yeah, the Z5 II. All right, what do I think of the Z5 II? How much AV work are you planning on doing? Is the question I have. That's my real question. How much video do you plan on doing? Because that's going to make a huge difference. Give me just 1 second here. I'm going to get caught up on the Z. The Z6 has been one of the ones that my buddy was talking to me about, and he had questions on. The Z5 has not been my big UHS2s. Gold OLED. flash sync isn't the greatest. And then the question is on the video side. Okay, let me answer that question for you. Okay, let me answer that question for you. Looking at this completely, I would say if you like Nikon, go with it. Know that the electronic shutter is not going to be as fast as the Sony's, but it's still going to be really good. Um, Flash photography is going to have a slower sync capability. So that's if you do get into something more on the professional side of flash photography, you are not going to have the same capabilities as Sony. But if you like it, get it. Now, I'm going to recommend that you get a fan for it because that's going to be hugely important. So it's a TEC fan from, hold on a second, let me pull this up real quick. This is going to be a small rig TEC fan. All right. So I'm going to recommend that you get a TEC fan for it. You don't have to invest a whole lot into that, but it's just one of these. Let me pull up this piece here. I'll throw a link into the chat if I can. I'm actually on Amazon's page right now, and I can, let me share this real quick. Let me stop sharing that. Let me share this page real quick. So this is what you're going to need to get to go with it. These are called TEC fans, and what they do is they keep the temperature down quite a bit on the camera if you're using it. Uh, they've got versions for Nikon too, and this will keep the temperature down for long shoots. So if you're doing like a violin shoot and it's like an hour-long event or something like that, it will definitely give you the tools you need for heat distribution. I use it all the time for this camera, and I recommend it for just about every camera out there that doesn't have a fan built into it, is to get a TC fan that works with it. Most of the time, you're doing external audio recording anyway, so it's not going to be a huge difference having that on there. But being able to definitely walk through this and get all the features that you need for video that are in this without it overheating, having a fan is going to make a big difference. Of course, you're welcome. Oh, my pleasure answering the questions for you. Do you have any more questions? If you do, I'll answer them. This has been a ton of fun talking about the new products from Sony that's coming out. I do know that we're going to be having some really cool cameras coming out in 26 from Sony because it's just going to be a beast of a camera. It's just the way it's going to be. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see. Should have been able to pop out of this scene and then pop back in. Okay, cool. Sometimes you got to go out of scene, come back in scene. Please describe slow. Oh, okay. Okay, I got your question. So the answer is how you customize it. If you've been someone who didn't customize this camera the way that it should be customized, it's going to be slow. The menus in here are so extensive that you could get overwhelmed with trying to find something. There's a couple menus and a couple body functions that work really good. So there's a menu called function. Let's see if you can see it. All right, you see that right there? That's a function menu that you can add your top 10 things that you're going to jump into all the time, and that speeds up your workflow really quick. And then how you set up your body buttons make a big difference too. So, for example, I've got my Super 35 set up right here, record button, certain menus, all these custom buttons I have set up for specific functions. I can switch my autofocus right here to whatever autofocus I'm looking to do. So it's basically how you set the camera up. It is slow from factory settings just because, that's what Sony picked as its factory setup. But once you customize it to your personal needs, it is super fast. Yeah, it is a deep jungle. Everyone has an A6400 or 6500. I started with an A6000. So if you never learned how to use the function menu or set that up for yourself, that's where the deficit comes in. And it took me like a year to figure that out. Once I figured out the function menu, because I got really frustrated jumping into every single menu that Sony has, which the advantage is they have 3 million things you can do. The disadvantage is remembering where all 3 million things are. So it sucks in that case. So yes, Sony has 3 million things you can do. 3 million menus. Yes, it does. 3 million menus. Ah, okay. I can explain that one. This is a weird one. I've had an opportunity to talk with some Sony reps way back in the day when the A6000 existed. They weren't looking to do photography. They literally put the terrible body together with this awesome sensor so that Nikon would buy the sensor. And their menus were not set up for the average person. They were set up for pros, like high-end pros are used to diving into each menu, spending 20 minutes to set up a camera, and that's it. They weren't looking at regular consumers. Even when it comes down to the fact that you can stream from this camera, this one here, you can stream to YouTube really easy. I've done it several times. The setup sucks. It is the most stupidest setup, even though I'm using the monitor control app, which when you get the creative app and this together, you can do some really cool things. It's just setting up for YouTube sucks. Now, speaking of which, you have an A6400. When you update to one of these, you can get so many features using just your phone. So, working with false color, working with anamorphic lenses, you name every feature you say that Sony doesn't have, it's here. So, it's here. Sorry about the rant, brother. Any other questions? And yeah, Sony didn't think that through for B2C customers, which is the average everyday person. Um, Sony, all right, I appreciate you asking questions. I appreciate you. Have a great edit day. I'm about to jump off here too because I'm almost at an hour now. Anyone else have questions? I see a couple people are online. Nice to meet you too. Hopefully you subscribe to me and you can tell some of your friends to subscribe and follow what I do. Looks like you're on YouTube. You're not on LinkedIn, so I definitely appreciate you. Uh, oh, you're watching from Portugal. Cool. Glad I can be some help from Portugal. Once again, I do appreciate everybody, and thank you for watching. Thank you. Appreciate you for subscribing. There's two people left online. Any questions from y'all that are still here? This is a question and answer session, so I've got another couple of minutes. I'm going to keep the stream at right about an hour, and then I'm going to jump off here. For those on LinkedIn, thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all. The simulcast here is powered by EV Mux. It's pretty cool service that lets me stream anywhere I want to with super reliability. So once the stream's up, it's not going to go down unless internet's gone for like a minute and a half, which is really, really cool. All right. Um, I've been talking about the A7 Mark V, which I will probably be picking up one that will replace my A7 IV. I don't know if I'm going to replace it. I'm finding that when I replace a Sony body, I want to get that Sony body back again. So I think I'm just going to keep my A7 IV until everything stops functioning on this thing, which could take a long, long time. And I'm just going to add some more to it, more cameras to the slew of cameras I've got. Uh, it pretty much sums it up. We're about 7 minutes from closing out the stream. So if you have any questions or want to say anything, I should be able to get comments from LinkedIn, but I didn't check if I could. See if there's anything over on the LinkedIn side. Let me check that real quick. And if I ignored you on LinkedIn, please forgive me. This should have been able to bring over any comments you may have had, but not everything is perfect. You just do the best you can with what you got. Let's see. This should be over here. Oh, I should be live here. Uh, yep, I am. I am live. Let's see. Any comments? Nope, no comments on this side. So it looks like I was just. I do love this service though, being able to comment on both. I just want to always check just in case there's something goofy going on. Um, that being said, uh, we're just about done for the day. Thanks for everybody who's watched today. Let me put that in the comment here. All right, let me jump over here. All right, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure just having y'all out there and watching us today. Um, any questions or concerns, just anything you have like that, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will see them later on tonight if you have any. Other than that, y'all take care. We're looking at just about an hour, and it's been a ton of fun just kind of chatting with y'all. I've got marketing and other stuff to jump into next for the day, but this is one of my favorite parts of the day, just to get online and just say some stuff about cameras that I love. We're 55 minutes in. Thank you for watching. We're going to call this an endpoint, and y'all take care.